Ma'am, please unmute yourself. Yes, ma'am, we can proceed now.
Namaste and a cordial welcome to the dignitaries and participants to this fifth session of this webinar series on Disaster Resilient India 2030, organized by I.A.S and I.A.S of Ayyappa College for Women in collaboration with Disaster Management and Rehabilitation Trust. Before proceeding with my presidential address, I extend my wishes, Teachers' Day wishes to all of you. Throughout this webinar series, we are listening to the expertise talk on the major disasters, the sudden and calamitous event bringing great destruction and devastation to life and property. Natural disaster is not a new phenomenon and existed since early beginning of life, continue to cause serious damage and loss of life all over the globe. But today's disasters are often generated by or at least exacerbated by human activities. At the most dramatic level, human activities are changing the natural balance of the earth, interfering as never before with the atmosphere, the oceans, the polar ice caps, forest cover, and the natural pillars that make our world a livable home. Thus, putting ourselves in harm's way through invisible means. Nature is bountiful, full of resources used by the living organisms used for their survival and well-being. Nature is self-sustainable with its own control systems. Resources used up are replenished, excess are checked, and dead and decayed are recycled, all naturally through the biogeochemical cycles, the food chains, food webs, and other natural phenomena. Thus, equilibrium or ecological balance is maintained in nature. This balance has in recent times been disturbed by human activities. We always think about our needs alone and tend to forget, sometimes even unaware about our dependency on the unseen microbial population, the producers and decomposers that keeps the biogeochemical cycles going on in a harmonious way, thus maintaining the ecological balance. We do always forget the fact that these components of the ecosystem, which are programmed to deal with natural substances, are constantly troubled when we add xenobiotics or man-made synthetic substances to their surroundings. These substances not only destroy the beneficial microbes, but trigger or upset the cascading or the interconnected biotic and abiotic cycles, leading the imbalance. We often forget the fact that while modern technology has given people significant increase in power over nature, it has done little to reduce our dependence on biodiversity. Analyzing the deliberations of all the expertise staff of this webinar series, it is evident that we all contribute to the disaster or the degradation of the ecosystem in one way or the other. Therefore, disaster management is not a standalone activity. A well-structured, people-centric, coordinated and integrated effort is the need of the hour. The work should start from the bottom to the top. Communities should take up the ownership of these activities. The contribution of local people who acted immediately and cohesively and effectively in the rescue operation during the recent air crash that took a toll of 18 lives in Kozhikode air crash on August 7, 2020 was worth mentioning here. As India is considered the theatre of disasters, team effort with effective participation of government and community can make a difference to disaster management programs. The post-tsunami scenario given us great lessons about the do's and don'ts that should be practiced, giving insight into activities that need to be employed, the role and responsibilities of each and every person who are directly or indirectly affected by the disaster, and so on. Our scientific community, government and policy makers do study and analyze the problems as and when it occurs and forget the seriousness of the issues when the intensity of its effects subside as time passes. Effective management is possible only if a comprehensive plan and implementation mechanism are charted out. The implemented policies must be enforced with an iron effect and fist to help contribute in reducing or eliminating the consequences arising in future. Before concluding, I would like to share with you the content of an article published in Encyclopedia by Dr. John M. Anderson titled Biodiversity and Sixth Extinction. It is hardly a one-page article, but the content it carries an eagle-eye precision of the present day. The article begins with the following quote by Leakian Levin, the great paleoanthropologist. For each of the big five extinctions, there are theories of what caused them. Some are compelling, but none proven. For the sixth extinction, however, we do know the culprit we are. I'm just going to highlight some of the lines as it is in the article. Over the past 500 million years, since complex life colonized the seas, then the continents, there have been 5 major global extinction events. The last such event, the fifth, was when the dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago. For one or the other reason, asteroid hits, vast volcanic activities, global carbon dioxide poisoning, abrupt climatic change, oceanic stagnation, perhaps 90% of all life forms have gone extinct in a geological moment. The sixth extinction of life is now upon us. It is of our time. We are in its remorseless grip. It is not hovering out there on the horizon, threatening, but it is happening. The authors conclude the article by the following statements. During this very early stage of the fourth communication revolution, we have a clear choice. We either allow the fourth and final phase of the extinction to blaze out of control and engulf us, or we unite as one global family that we are and stem this extinction. It is more wise of us to take the later route. Most ecologists believe that we are in the midst of sixth mass extinction. Humanity's impact on nature, they say, is now comparable to the five previous catastrophic events over the past 600 million years, during which up to 95% of the plant species disappeared. The sixth phase of mass extinction focuses the loss of biodiversity caused by population explosion coupled with the technological advancement. In direct proportion to the sophistications of our discoveries, inventions, and growth of knowledge, pristine nature has been erased around us. We have already eliminated 70% of the world's most diverse hotspots and 50% of the tropical rainforest. More recently, scientists at the UN Convention on Biological Diversity concluded that every day up to 150 species are lost. That could be as much as 10% a decade. So what is the solution? We all need to reduce our ecological footprint and live more lightly on the earth, realizing that demands for goods and services place pressure on the environment. The less we use, the less our pressure on natural resources. So let us stop reducing our demands and inculcate our younger generation about the importance of interdependency of biodiversity for the survival of human race right from the schooling. Let us all remember the moral from the story of the greedy farmer who killed his goose which laid golden eggs and left it without over-exploitation of nature and so on. It is our duty to remove the conception in the minds of our children that wild animals are only for zoo, recreation, etc. Instead, create awareness that each living being, whether plants or animals, along with other abiotic components, are gearing the planet Earth to balance. We must also teach them the present hardship due to COVID-19 pandemic, which is due to a mutated virus. Mutations usually occur when the surroundings of cell changes. It's not too late to make a difference, but only if we start now at every level from local to global through transformative changes. Nature can still be conserved, restored, and used sustainably. This is also a key to meet our 2030 global goal. Let me express our gratitude to Dr. K.G. Thara, Farmer Head, Disaster Management Center, Institute of Land and Disaster Management, Government of Kerala, for joining with us to share our thoughts about the extreme climatic events, drought and flood. Now, let me remind with the words, the greatest threat to the planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As usual, You set the tempo of the program by giving a very good message, leave less of our ecological footprints, and save the world for the prosperity. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Suresh Kumar sir, organizing secretary of our webinar series, to felicitate the great teachers who are among us today. Sir, please, the platform is yours now.
Thank you. Most respected Chairman, Disaster Management, and the key person of India in promoting disaster management system in India, our guide and philosopher, respected Michael Vetha Siromony sir, and a very, very powerful speaker of Kanniykumari district in any subject given. Madam's presentation, introductory remarks carries lots and lots of meanings and it is practical and implementable. Thank you, Madam. And I take this opportunity to thank all the experts and delegates who are here. Teachers Day. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Mageshwaraha, Guru Sakshal Parabrahma, Dashmai Sri Guruve Nama. Our teachers who have helped us become what we are today. Even during the COVID 2019 pandemic, teachers are doing an exemplary work by taking virtual route to help students to access education from using virtual reality. Hosting interactive lessons or even checking with their students. Guru Shishya Parambara is also an important part of our Indian culture. Sree Ayyappa College for Women and DMRT join hands to in touching the feet of entire teaching community in the world. You gave the wings to fly. Our parents gave us life, and it was you who taught us how to live it. You introduced honesty, integrity, and passion to our character. Happy Teachers' Day. Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam strongly believed only 3 members in the community can promote corruption-free India. They are 1 father, number 2 mother, number 3 teacher. Transforming me with your intellect and working diligently with perseverance. My salute to my teachers who taught. I feel really lucky to have my professor, Dr. Mina Madam of Sree Ayyappa College, who encourages to have this program, who is part of this program. Every word you say appears like, I am proud of you. Sarvapalli Dr. Radhakrishnan is remembered for being one of the greatest thinkers of 20th century. He was instrumental in introducing Western philosophies into Indian society. India's first Vice President and second President of India during 62-67. A symbol of academics and education. Dr. Radhakrishnan was a renowned philosopher, statesman, proven teacher. India celebrates Dr. Radhakrishnan's birthday, that is today, September 5th of every year as Teachers' Day. In our Teachers' Day celebration program, we are very fortunate to have a primary school teacher from Payanguri elevated to the position of Best Teacher awardee at national level. The citation was given by Government of India. Srimati W. Jagasalvi is being awarded with the National Award to Teachers in 2012. She is an excellent teacher in the sense that she gives individual attention to every student. She is very keen on understanding the problems of students for the purpose of improving their educational proficiency and character. She makes herself familiar with the family background to every student to redress their needs. Won by Government of India in 2012 when she was awarded with the Best Teacher. When we contacted, the secret of her success is She has supported many poor students to get national level scholarships, even evening studies, special studies, helping the poor students and supporting their social community level program she associated. And I know Dr. Madam Jagaselvi as a DDRT member, that is district level disaster response team member. 2010 when we formed that organization DDRT in Kanniykumari district. Madam teacher was one of the active member in 2010 flood relief activities, that too in Bulavangod Taluk of Kanniykumari district. Almost 20 to 25 days she was there physically with with her colleagues, and we could able to provide a better relief operation during that period. She is a very active member in Indian Red Cross Society Kanniykumari district branch, and she is very active in Junior Red Cross activities of Kanniykumari district. Madam, you deserve this national level award, and her husband, Mr. Justin sir, John Justin Rai sir, is a government servant, retired Deputy Director of Statistics from retired in 2014. He served in Tuticorin, Tiruvarur, Tirunelveli, Krishnagiri, and Kanniykumari districts. With this, her all the achievements, Madam, we respect all your good work done to the student community and the community of Kanniykumari district in helping the people, that too disaster affected people. Now, our next awardee is Mr. Nagesh. He is one of the promoter of what you call, during when DMRT was promoted. He is a very important member, and he who really introduced Mr. R.L. Nadarajan, Mercantile Bank chairman. On his request only, he has taken up, and we were working well. Mr. Nagesh was a commerce teacher in DVD Higher Secondary School, Nagarkoil. He retired as assistant headmaster. More than 26 years, he served as a NSS district level license officer. During his tenure as a district level license officer, he has visited almost all the schools under his command area and implemented lot of awareness program, village level traffic regulation, crowd management, and all the social activities, whatever responsibility assigned by the education department as well as district administration, he was supportive. During tsunami, he was highly supportive to the district administration as well as to DMRT in carrying out rescue relief operation. Sir also associated with the Lions Club International. He was a president, past president in Lions Club of Nagarkoil, Paraipuram, and he was one of the promoters of Indian Junior Chamber in Kanniykumari district. He has connected with almost all the social organizations in Kanniykumari district to doing a very good service. He was awarded with the Best Teacher award by the Tamil Nadu government in 2008. And this year, my good friend, Mr. Syed Abu Dahir from Dindigul district, he was a JRC organizer from Dindigul district. His contribution was highly appreciated by Tamil Nadu branch of Indian Red Cross Society, because when Chennai flood was there, he carried a lot of relief material, and he was instrumental in promoting improvised boat to rescue the people who stranded in different locations. So he is an active member. He is a state level management committee member in Indian Red Cross Society. He has joined in, I think, in UT. He may not be in a position to speak to us, but we have many other teachers. Entire teachers are best teachers. That is why we have the best community. So not only in India, throughout the world, the teachers who make history and they create historian, they develop, they have the vision to make the country and the world. So on this occasion, we take this opportunity to thank and appreciate, extend our good wishes and a healthy life during your retirement period. Thank you very much. Now I think Jagada madam.
Thank you so much, Sree sir. Now let me request Nagesh sir to address us on representing the teachers.
Nagesh sir, you are there?
Unmute. Yeah. He has to unmute himself. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
I am Nagesh.
Good afternoon.
May I start?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
மேடம் நான் தமிழ்ல தான் என்னுடைய பிரசன்டேஷன் வழங்குறேன். அனைவருக்கும்
ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம்
சார், உங்களை பார்த்ததுல ரொம்ப மகிழ்ச்சி. நீண்ட நாளுக்கு பிறகு உங்களை சந்திக்கிறது, உங்களை பத்தி எனக்கு ஒரு நல்ல நான் இப்போ இன்றைய தினம் ஆசிரியர் தினம். அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய இனிய ஆசிரியர் தின நல்வாழ்த்துக்களை நான் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நம்முடைய டிசாஸ்டர் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் அந்த ரிஹாபிலிட்டேஷன் ட்ரஸ்ட் அவங்க நம்முடைய யூத் ரெட் கிராஸோடையும் நாகர்கோயில் ஐயப்பா கல்லூரி அவர்களோடு இணைந்து நடத்துகின்ற இந்த வெப்னார் நிகழ்வுகள்ல கலந்து கொள்ளக்கூடிய அறிஞர் அனைவரையும் நான் வணங்கி மகிழ்கிறேன். குறிப்பாக டாக்டர் மைக்கேல் அவர்கள், டாக்டர் KV ஜெயஸ்ரீ அவர்கள் மற்றும் தேசிய விருது பெற்ற மேடம் அவர்கள், இவங்கெல்லாம் வணக்கத்துக்குரியவர்கள். அவங்களை இந்த நல்ல நேரத்தில் நான் வணங்கி பெருமை பெறுகிறேன். இன்றைய நிகழ்வு நமக்கு அந்த பஞ்சமும் பெருவெள்ளம் சார்ந்த ஒரு டாபிக்காக இருந்தாலும் கூட, இன்றைக்கு ஆசிரியர் தினம், ஆசிரியர்களை கௌரவிக்கும் முகமாக இந்த நாளை கொண்டாடி கொண்டிருப்பது உண்மையிலே பாராட்டுக்குரியது. அதற்காக நான் நண்பர் சுரேஷ் அவர்களையும் மேடம் ப்ரொஃபசர் AR சவிதா அவர்களையும் உள்ளபடியே நான் பாராட்ட கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கின்றேன். ஆசிரியர் தின விழாவிலே ஒரு சில ஆசிரியர் தின கருத்துக்களை சொல்ல வேண்டும் என்று என்னிடம் கேட்டுக்கொண்டார்கள். அதற்காக அவர்களுக்கு நான் நன்றி தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றேன். பொதுவாக ஆசிரியர் என்ற பணியை ஏற்றுக்கொண்ட ஒருவர் யாராக இருந்தாலும் ஆசிரியர் என்றானால் நாளடைவில் அவர்கள் புரிந்து கொள்வார்கள், ஆசிரியர் என்பது ஒரு தொழில் அல்ல. ஆசிரியம் என்பது ஒரு தொழிலாக கருதாமல் அதை ஒரு வாழ்க்கை நெறியாக கொள்கிறார்கள். ஆசிரியர்கள் என்ற ஒரு பொறுப்பை அடைந்தவுடன் அவர்கள் அதை புனிதமாக தன்னுடைய வாழ்க்கை நெறியாக கொள்வதை தான் நாம் நடைமுறையிலே பார்க்கின்றோம். தன்னையும் தன் இயல்பையும் சீர்படுத்தி கொண்டு மாணவர்கள் மத்தியில ஒரு முன் உதாரணமாக அவர்கள் தன்னை மாற்றிக்கொள்கிறார்கள். அந்த மாற்றத்தை ஆசிரியம் என்ற ப்ரொஃபஷன், அந்த தொழில் மட்டுமே ஒருவருக்கு தரக்கூடும் என்று நான் நினைக்கிறேன். அப்படியான தன்னை மாணவன் மட்டுமல்ல, இந்த சமூகமும் ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளும் வண்ணம் வாழ்ந்து வரும் ஆசிரிய பெருமக்களை மட்டுமே மாணவ சமுதாயம் என்றும் நினைவில் நிறுத்தி வழிபட்டு வருவதை கூட இன்று நாம் பார்க்கலாம். என்னுடைய 36 ஆண்டுகால ஆசிரிய அனுபவத்தை கொண்ட நான் 2008 ஆண்டில் தமிழக அரசின் டாக்டர் ராதாகிருஷ்ணன் அவர்களின் விருது வழங்கப்பட்டு கௌரவிக்கப்பட்டேன். அந்த கௌரவம் நான் ஆசிரியராக இருந்ததினால் மட்டும் கிடைத்ததாக கருதவில்லை. என்னுடைய ஆசிரிய பணியும் மாணவர்களுக்கு பொது சேவை மனப்பான்மை வளர்க்கும் நாட்டுநல படை திட்டத்தின் ஒரு திட்ட அலுவலராகவும், பிறகு மாவட்ட அளவில் தொடர்பு அலுவலராகவும் தொடங்கிய நாள் முதல் இன்று வரை பணியாற்றியமைக்கு கிடைத்த ஒரு அங்கீகாரமாகவே நான் அதனை கருதுகிறேன். பள்ளி என்பது என்ன என்கின்ற ஒரு கேள்வி, வாட் இஸ் எ ஸ்கூல் அப்படின்னு சொல்லும் போது பலர் அதனை கோவில் என்பார்கள், சிலர் கல்வி கற்கும் கூடம் என்பார்கள், நம்முடைய இரண்டாவது வீடு என்று கூட சொல்லலாம், போதி மரக்கூடு என்றும் கூறலாம். ஆனால் நான் சொல்வேன், the school is the building with 4 walls with tomorrow inside. நாட்டின் எதிர்காலத்தை நிர்ணயிக்கும் தலைவர்களையும் விஞ்ஞானிகளையும் அறிஞர்களையும் கொண்டிருக்கும் 4 சுவர்களான கட்டிடம் என கூறலாம். என்றாலும் அந்த 4 சுவர்களுக்குள் போதிக்கப்படும் கல்வி மட்டும் ஒரு முழுமையான கல்வி ஆகாது என்று நான் கருதுகிறேன். ஒவ்வொரு மாணவனும் தன்னை பற்றியும் தான் வாழும் சமூகம் பற்றியும் அறிவது அவசியம். அந்த அறிவை பெற்ற மாணவன் மட்டுமே ஏழை எளியவர்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையையும் அவர்களுக்கு உதவும் மனப்பான்மையும் கொண்டு நாட்டு நலனில் அக்கறை கொண்டவர்களாகவும் இருக்க முடியும் என்பது என்னுடைய எண்ணம். அப்படி அக்கறை உள்ள மாணவர்களை உருவாக்கி தருவது பள்ளிகளில் செயல்பட்டு வரும் நாட்டு நலப்பணி திட்டம் என்று சொன்னால் அது மிகையாகாது. எனது இந்த அனுபவம் கல்வி என்பது தகவல்களை மட்டும் அள்ளி தருவதல்ல, மனித மனதை மனிதராக சிந்திக்க பழக்குவதுதான் கல்வி என்று நான் கருதுகிறேன். அதனாலே அதனையே ஒரு கடமையாக ஏற்றுக்கொண்டு பணியாற்றினேன். எனவே கல்வி என்பது கட்டடங்களுக்குள் நடக்கும் வார்த்தை பரிமாற்றமாக இல்லாது, பல்கலைக்கழக படிப்போடு முடிந்து போவதாக இல்லாது, வாழ்நாள் முழுவதும் தொடரும் வாழ்வியல் நிகழ்வாக தொடர வேண்டும் என்றே நான் கருதுகிறேன். எதை கற்றோமோ அல்லது எது கற்பிக்கப்பட்டதோ அதனை அவன் வாழ்நாள் முழுவதும் கடைபிடிப்பதாக மாற்ற வேண்டும் நம்முடைய கல்வி முறை. பலர் கல்வி பெறும் கல்வி வேறு வாழ்க்கை வேறு என்றே கருதுகின்றனர். எத்தனையோ முறை ஒருவனுக்கு தன் சுற்றுப்புறத்தை தூய்மையாக வைக்க வேண்டும் என்று கற்றுத் தந்தாலும் அதனை அவன் கடைபிடிப்பதில்லை. சுற்றுப்புறத்தை சுத்தமாக வைக்க வேண்டும் என்கின்ற முறையை, செயல்முறையை, அந்த கல்வியை நாட்டு நலப்பணி திட்டம் மட்டுமே தருகிறது என்று சொன்னால் அது மிகையாகாது. அதனால்தான் அந்த நாட்டு நலப்பணி திட்டம் பாடத்திட்டத்தோடு இணைந்த ஒரு அங்கமாக இருக்க வேண்டும் என்று கல்வியாளர்களும் கருதுகின்றனர். இந்த நேரத்திலே நான் ஒரு சின்ன சம்பவத்தை, உண்மையான ஒரு சம்பவத்தை எடுத்து சொல்ல கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். ஒரு வெளிநாட்டில் நடந்த கதை. ஒரு 2ஆம் உலகப் போரின் போது ஜெர்மனி நாட்டை சேர்ந்த இராணுவ அதிகாரி உளவு பார்த்தார் என கூறி இங்கிலாந்து நாட்டு இராணுவ அதிகாரிகளால் பிடிக்கப்பட்டு அவருக்கு மரண தண்டனைக்கு உள்ளானார். மரண தண்டனை நாள் வரும் வரை எல்லோரிடமும் சகஜமாக சிரித்து பேசி மகிழ்ந்து வந்தவரை இறுதி நாளில் அவர் மார்பை குண்டுகள் சல்லடையாக்கியது. இந்த சூழ்நிலையில் அவர் அந்த குண்டுகளால் இறந்து சரிந்து விழுந்த போது அவரை அந்த இங்கிலாந்து இராணுவ வீரர்கள் மரியாதையுடன் அப்புறப்படுத்தினார்கள். அப்போது அவர்கள் சட்டை பையில் இருந்து ஒரு கடிதம் அவர்கள் பார்வையில் பட்டது. கடிதம் அவரது தொடக்க கால ஆசிரியருக்கு ஒரு தகவலை கொண்டிருந்தது. ஆம், அந்த ஆசிரியர் அவருக்கு போதித்த செய்தி என்ன செய்தி என்றால், எவனொருவன் தான் ஏற்றுக்கொண்ட பணியை முழுமையாக நிறைவேற்றுகிறானோ அவனே முழுமையாக வாழ்ந்தவன் ஆகிறான் என்கின்ற ஒரு கருத்தை அந்த அவனுடைய தொடக்க கல்வி ஆசிரியர் அவருக்கு சொல்லி தந்திருக்கிறார். இப்பொழுது அவனுடைய கடிதம் சொல்லக்கூடிய விளக்கம் என்னவென்றால், நான் முழுமையாக வாழ்ந்தேன் என்கின்ற செய்தியை என்னுடைய ஆசிரியருக்கு தெரியப்படுத்துங்கள், அவர்களுடைய முகவரியை நான் கீழே தந்திருக்கின்றேன், இதை என்னுடைய வேண்டுகோளாக ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளுங்கள் என்று அந்த வீரர், அந்த இராணுவ வீரர் தன்னுடைய கடிதத்தில் குறிப்பிட்டிருக்கிறார். இங்கே நான் குறிப்பிட்டு சொல்ல வரக்கூடிய விஷயம் என்னவென்றால், ஒரு ஆசிரியர் தனது மாணவர் மனதில் எவ்வளவு பெரிய பாதிப்பை ஏற்படுத்த முடியும் என்பதற்கு உண்மை சம்பவம் ஒரு உதாரணமாக எடுத்துக்கொள்ளலாம். ஆம், ஆசிரியம் என்பது தொழில் அல்ல, ஒரு வாழ்க்கை நெறிமுறை என்பதை நாட்டு நலப்பணி திட்டத்தில் இணைந்திருக்கும் ஒவ்வொரு ஆசிரியரும் உணர்ந்ததோடு, அவர்கள் உணர்ந்ததோடு மட்டுமல்ல, அதுபோல நடந்து வருகிறார்கள். அதுவே அவர்கள் மற்ற ஆசிரியர்கள் தரும் இனிய செய்தியாகும், ஒரு முன் உதாரணமும் ஆகும். அத்தகைய ஆசிரியர்களை தான் உலகம் வணங்கும். அவர்களுக்கு எங்களுடைய வாழ்த்துக்கள். அதை நாம் பின்பற்றுவோம். நன்றி. வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி. சுரேஷ் அவர்களுக்கும் மற்றும் பெரியவர்களுக்கும் நன்றி கூறி விடைபெறுகிறேன்.
Thank you so much. You are exactly right. Member of Indian Red Cross Society is part of the Red Cross. I know how the Indian Red Cross and the Youth Red Cross is helping the teachers to contribute their role for the development of the student community and the part of the I.A.S.
எங்க எனக்கு அள்ளி போட்டுருக்கோன்னு தெரியல. ஆனா இருக்குது, ரப்பர் பேண்ட் இருக்குது. ஜாமான் உள்ள எல்லாம் இங்க கொண்டா போட்டு பெயிண்ட் அடிக்கிறோம், மாற்றணும்.
Hello, ma'am, to mute herself. Okay. Now, we are really fortunate to have Michael Siromony sir among us. He is not only a civil servant, but also a teacher who has molded this younger generation to be the best civil servants of the nation. And here, on this Teachers' Day, we are really fortunate to have him as the keynote speaker. Sir, the platform is yours, and we are eagerly waiting to hear you on drought mitigation. Sir, please.
Yeah. Very good evening to one and all. Maybe today is the Teachers' Day, especially I think in the audience as well as in the stage. I think we got large number of teachers. To all those teachers, pranam. When I, especially when I think of teachers, I think teachers already, Teacher Nagesh sir has said it so nicely. It is not the building, but it's the futures in that building and all. And Madam, our president, so nicely told about what is environment. And I would say, I think we learn teachers are like the light. It's always they show the light. Both as a teachers in our own lives, I think they dedicate such a lot, and they have chiseled us and made us into what we are today. So a good nation, a great nation is made by the teachers more than anyone else. So today, my all respect to all the teachers, particularly Dr. Thara, Mr. Manan, I think many of us are teachers. So to all the teachers who are here, and maybe would be teachers also, and above all, I would say that Mother Nature is the biggest teacher. From there, I think we learn disasters. And especially, I think today when we are focusing on that, I would like to congratulate the award-winning teachers who are Mrs. Jaya Madam and Mr. Justin and Mr. Nagesh, particularly, who spoke with us and shared his thoughts. And congratulations to each and every one of you. You have made the profession very great and proud. I think I would say teaching is not a profession, it's a mission. Okay. Now coming to that since the time is limited, so I would restrict myself to not, there is a film ready. Maybe the film will become as the last resort, but not the film. The film is always kept as a what you call as a candy. When things goes bad, it can be shown. But here today, because of the time limitations, I would not go to the film, but let the film be there. So briefly, I just wanted to touch about the drought scenario, because when Dr. Thara will be speaking, she will be speaking about the water management. So she will be covering that. But I would come first as a drought, because India is a country which is a drought-prone country. And also I want to say, India is a country which has got per capita water available more. Even in Rajasthan, if you take per capita availability of rainwater is more than what is in Kerala. But the distribution is the problem. So India is to an extent, even today, it is a water reasonably, I think, sufficient country in the world. but our management system is not that good, so there are problems and all. So I would straight come into the places of, especially I'll be focusing mostly on the Kanniykumari district, because some of the speakers, some of the participants will be from Kanniykumari district. For others, I think most part of mine will be relevant, but some part will be something like when I speak about rubber, it may not be very relevant. Please bear with me. And when you come into the Kanniykumari district, which is nothing but Kurinji, Mullai, Marudam, Naidal. இந்த 4 நிலமும் உடைந்ததுதான் கன்னியாகுமரி டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட். அதான் கன்னியாகுமரியுடைய சிறப்பு என்பதே அதுதான். Because when you those who have studied Tamil will understand what is Thinai Mayakam. The Thinai Mayakam, if you want to see, you can see it in Kanyakumari district. What is that Thinai? The Thinai Mayakam is the bird of the Mullai Nilam comes to Marudam and gets confused. That means what it says, the biodiversity, the biorichness is so short, and the bird itself, it gets confused whether I am in the Marudam or I am in the Mullai. This is what. That shows nothing but a biorichness of this district and all. But that biorich districts where we have landed is what I wanted to just share with that all. When you come into the drought part of it, I always remember the famous poet said, "Vadiya paire kanda bodella manam vadinene." I think it's a human nature to if you see a plant in a drought scenario, it really moves you, it troubles you. That's what he says, "Vadiya paire kanda bodella manam vadinene." That's what I think when we come into the drought scenario, you see lot of suicides happening it and all. Because drought does not kill people like flood, like that doesn't take away. But the scenario is so bad, it makes the farmer, the crop is like this, his own child. When the child is dying, I think he can't bear. Many of them commit suicide because of the drought scenario. And India is in one country where we do have got lot of this sort of problems and all, right? Now, what is that? I think when coming into the drought scenario, Kanyakumari district, many of you may not have seen what is drought. But I think I just wanted to communicate and convey to you that we are also heading towards a drought district and all. Because your what you call water table, your groundwater table is one of the normally it is 10 to 12 meters, it's going down. That means it's an indicator that the district is a drought prone district, or it may lead to a drought district unless you correct ourselves. So this is what just I wanted to caution. Because India, we have got a large number of, I think, drought. It's a drought prone district, and we have got also desert prone districts and all. So this is a country which has got lot of problems about the drought and also farmers suicide and all. Now, the moment it comes to the drought is it's generally called it's called a creeping disaster. It's like a snake. It comes very slowly. It's not like the flood. It's not like the cyclone. It's not like the earthquake. It creeps. It comes very, 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 very slowly. But it gives you enough time to intervene, enough time to interact, enough time to do corrective actions and all. So that is what is the, I think, but the something severe is something specialty of the drought. Now, drought, what you should be worried about. The first thing is in the drought is, for example, what will happen is you will have the shortage of water, both for the drinking water as well as the crop. So when there is a drinking shortage of water, that can be corrected. That can be corrected by supply of drinking water, etc., which itself is not a very healthy, but then I think it can be corrected at all. Because droughts per se is not very dangerous, but it will affect the economy very badly, like what we are seeing in the corona. The corona, of course, has silenced us. It has not made us to move. It has it has killed our economy. So something like drought is also really, I think it will kill our economy and also the activities, etc. Now, the first thing is about the drinking water. So the drought, when it comes, I think you have to be worried that when the drinking water availability, your OD well, your open draw well goes down, it deepens. So then there's a problem. But Kanyakumari district especially, I think, blessed with both with the southwest monsoon and the northeast monsoon, both almost like equivalent. And also we have got enough of what you call water bodies. Maybe the number of water bodies, thanks to that Travancore administrations and all, I think that has been very good. But today it has come into neglect. Many of you would be able to recollect the water bodies, the water tank in which you took bathing or you swam. Today you cannot enter into that. You feel the water is not good. It is all our creation. At like our president in her speech said, it is anthropogenic interventions beyond corrections. That's a problem. That's a problem. That means knowledgeably we are doing many things. Like what he said, I think it is something like what we are, the mass extinction. I think we are preparing ourselves. Drought is something which can be prevented, but we are invoking the drought by our interventions. It's something like a part of what we call the mass extinctions or the extinctions. We know there's a problem, but purposefully, intentionally we do. Is something like, I know drinking is bad, but I think the most crowded shop is, I think I need not say where it is. It's not in the Avin shop. It is mostly in your Tasmak shop. That is what is today's it shows. So it's also something like a severe drought scenario, which I want to just highlight it. The second thing is about crop failures. The crop will be failing. The crop yield will come down. I think the crop, you cannot get your harvest. Now Kanniykumari district is especially a plantation district. In a plantation district, how the drought will be affected? Yes, it will be affected the most. It may not be very visible, but the impact will be there for almost 1 to 2 years. For example, in a coconut tree, what will happen? The coconut will shrink, and to regain that coconut, it will take more than 2 years. But externally, it may not be visible. Externally, it may not be visible. So plantations or plantation crops are one of the most severe crops, which will be very severely affected by the flood, by the drought, which will not be very easily recorded or very easily assessed. Even if a central team comes and visits, they look at, there's a tree, there is a coconut tree, there is something, also small coconuts are available. So they will not take cognizance of that. So for the plantation crop failure is something to come back, to bring back to normalcy. It takes a lot of time and all, right? Okay. Now, the third thing which will come is the moment it is your biomass loss, there will be a lot of biomass reductions. Biomass is something like your lively support. If there is a reduction in biomass, then automatically your livelihood will be affected. So, for example, in the agriculture will be very badly affected. See, our economy is agrarian economy. In an agrarian economy, even though I think Kanniykumari district is known for other things and all, still it's predominantly an agrarian economy district and all. Agrarian economy district. So the productivity will be affected, and also the yield will affected. Quite naturally, the laborers will not get job and all. Of course, now people do migrate and all. Now we have to remember that invariably, I think a drought will aggravate migrations. So this is what we have to remember. That sort of migration may not happen in Kanniykumari, but if you look into Maharashtra, or if you look to Gujarat or Rajasthan, the mass migration along with their cattle is a very, very much reality. So that sort of scenario may not come in Kerala and may not come into Kanniykumari, which is also an extension of the Western Ghats. But this just I wanted to just mention, because invariably a drought leads to migration and all, right? Now, what is that can be done? What can be done is something which we have to take advanced actions. Because, for example, I said Kanniykumari district has got such a large number of beautiful irrigation systems, which has been one of the most scientific irrigation system which you have got, which can be carefully planned, and you can deepen your water tanks, and you can store water, and your water table can be kept high. Water table may not be visible directly, but water table is what your life support system. So we have to remember, always we have to think of how water table can be kept up. This is a responsibility both at an individual level as well as at the others level. Now I think people would be coming and telling, now yes, I have started putting borewell. Borewell is not a need in Kanniykumari district, but today we are driven that we have to go for borewell, because, and your OD well, most of them you are not using it because you got a pipe supply and all. Now coming back to the pipe supply and that the water supply point for Nagarkoil, you know how limitations and all, and Nagarkoil district, Nagarkoil town itself is deprived of a continuous 24 hours water supply. And some days, I think we have, 2 years back, I think we have heard what happened in Chennai and what happened even also in Kanniykumari. Once in 3 days or once in 2 days, I think water supply used to be there. So this is all the problem which we are facing in terms of drinking water. So the first and foremost, what we have to do is to correct your water table or augment your water supply. If you are able to augment water supply, if you are able to save water and conserve water, and I think your job is done. This can be done at an individual level, as well as at the government level, as well as the community level, or at the organization level. This is what very important. So if you are able to take care of our water bodies and make it lively, not like it's something like a weeded area. It should be something very lively. If you are able to make it, I think you will be, the job is done and all. Now into, then I just wanted specifically to focus on the Kanniykumari district and why today the drought. The drought setting in the plantation crop, it is because of your rubber. Because now rubber, many of you may not be able to appreciate and understand what rubber has caused to. I think rubber has done the greatest ecological damage to the Kanniykumari district because unlike Kerala, in Kanniykumari, what we did is we have put rubber in the catchment areas. Please note that is the most important, I think, what you call suicidal thing which we have done it and all. You can plant rubber in Takala area, in Tirvattar area, you can Pechipara area, but not in the catchment area. The catchment area has been planted with both in Pechipara and Perinjani and other dams, etc. by rubber. What is rubber? Rubber is an anti-water crop. Rubber doesn't like water. Rubber will not grow in water. The rubber cannot stand in water. So when you have got a forest, which is something like, which is the spring, supply spring, you just clean shaved it, removed it without reason, and then you have planted rubber. That means rubber will not tolerate water. So what you have done it, you have drained all the places, and you have made the rubber comfortable, and in the process your water table has come down, and your crops has automatically your dam is not going to fill it up, because rubber plantation, I would say, is something like an umbrella, a green umbrella. That's all. It looks green, no doubt about it. It gives rubber, yes, no doubt about it. Maybe it brings some money, yes, I do agree, but economically it may be okay to an extent, but not ecologically. It is something like, the beautifully, if I saying something, I think people will appreciate that. Other நல்ல ஒரு பெண் குழந்தையை ஒரு மோசமானவனுக்கு கல்யாணம் பண்ணி கொடுக்கிறது தான் என்னதுன்னா ரப்பரை கொண்டு போய் கன்னியாகுமரி டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்ல கேட்ச்மெண்ட் ஏரியால இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணக்கூடிய அந்த தவறு, I think it will continue for generations. Once you are wedded, I think you have to suffer. So this is what I think the Kanniykumari district is going to suffer, and will continue to suffer, because we are still depending on the rubber. So I think some of the people who are enjoying rubber or getting yield from rubber may not be able to appreciate, but that is the reality, because the Kanniykumari district water table is also going down, and most of your cropping pattern has changed. If you take the around 1 lakh hectares is the cropping area, but I think rubber itself occupies more than around 30,000 acres. 30,000 acres is rubber, and this rubber is also where in all the hilly tracts and all, where from the water table was to come, or where from the spring was to come, which you have killed it and all. Now I am a person who has seen it and all, witnessed it and all, because of the rubber plantation, the canal water system in the tail-end crops, tail-end farmers will not get water, etc. So automatically those areas will get dried up. That wherever there was a 2-crop paddy land, for which only the irrigation system of Pechipare and Perinjani was introduced, but rubber came and killed it. And mostly in the tail-end area, the cropping pattern has been changed. From paddy, it has gone into tapioca, or maybe to coconut, etc. I think some of you, I think Professor, I think our teacher, Mr. Nagesh and all would be remembering when he went to that field. I think at some point of time, we have planted so much coconut so closely. But I think I'm not able to remember the years. Periodically, the drought came and eliminated the coconut cultivations and all. So nature, like what Sree madam said, nature has got its own control mechanism. It has got its own control mechanism through which I think we suffer, and we have taken it out and all. Right. Okay. Now, some of the so rubber is one of the major culprit. So kindly remember, this major culprit will remain there, and I don't know what corrections which we are going to make, because once you have planted rubber, nothing else you can grow it. Kindly understand that. Rubber is in the rubber. Suppose if I go in the forest area, you'll see a butterfly. I see birds, but in a rubber plantation, I wouldn't see anything. It will be a green sheet. That's all. No undergrowth. nothing, because that is the policy, because we focused on a monocrop, and that's a problem. So this is something which we have to remember. And so the biggest problem is about the rubber introduction of Kannyakumari district. Though I also wanted to say it is the in India, it is one of the highest production area is somewhere from I think somewhere near Pechipare, because good soil you have sacrificed for that. Okay, so this is what I just wanted to say. Now coming into how we are going to correct it and all is what I think I would say, because Kannyakumari district is one of the what you call district which has got enough rains. You have got enough water bodies. If you are able to take care of that, and if you are able to, your rivers like the Tamarabrini and also the Volinaseri and the Valliyar, if these small rivers and rivulets are taken care of by appropriate methodology and by appropriate check dams, and if your water tanks like Periyakulam and all that, if you are taken care of, certainly I think you can restore it and all. It is not that paddy cultivation is paddy cultivation, it may not be a profitable. Yes, I do agree, because in the present context, but paddy cultivation is necessity. It's a necessary thing for our water table to be kept. That's what. So when you are meddling with that, then you will have the problem. That's what we are facing today, the problem. Your water tables are going down, your tube well, when you are digging, I think it goes very deep down and all. These are all the problems that we are facing. And I would say that please ensure that you take care of your water bodies, and whenever there is a rainwater, please harvest as much as possible, store it. Don't allow it to run into the sea. Allow it to go slowly and store it. If you are able to do, I think drought management in the present context is not a major problem we can address. But what we'll do, I think we'll be gradually lose lot of the species and all. I think what today, maybe some 20 years back or some 10 years back, what was the birds which was migrant birds? The migration birds which is coming from Himalayas, maybe today may not be coming to our district. So that is what. Maybe this cannot be economically quantified. That's a problem. But we don't value it. I think that is what is the ecosystem. That's what I said, Thinai Mayakam. What Bharadiyar said, Thinai Mayakam, is something which we have it in Kannyakumari district, but by our interventions, by our management of our water bodies, our management of our plantations without planning, I think we will be doing lot of environmental damage which cannot be corrected and all. So I think briefly I have told about this at something, but the most important thing what we have to do is green the area. Now what if I see Ayyappa College of 20 years back, that mountain, I think was much more greener than today. I think Madam Sree and I think our organizer will completely appreciate that. I think 20 years back it was more green. No doubt about it, because I have been a person who has been passing through and all. Maybe 30 years it was much more greener. That areas were much more greener, but today it is drying because of the anthropogenic interventions. So gradually, kindly, I think what we will do as a drought management or disaster management particularly, it is the collective responsibility. It is not mere the government. It is an individual, as well as you have to be economic in your water usage. As an institution, you have to educate and you have to create awareness. For example, I would say as a part of the action plan of the NSS of Ayyappa College, the two lakes which we cross when we come from Villukuri towards I think Chunkankadai should be taken care of by I think our interventions, by our technology. I think that will create more awareness in conserving the water. Once you lose that, I think you will be invoking problems and all. So thank you very much. I think I will stop here because there are more speakers, and I think Dr. Thara will be bringing a lot of other rich resources for you. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. Maybe Mr. Vinod Menon sir also will be later participating. So drought is a problem, but it can be a manageable. But some of the damages in the district we have already done. What corrections which we are going to make, I think that I leave it to the society and to the people, and I stop it here. Thanks for the great opportunity given to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your experience in the eco-fragile districts of Idiki and Wayanad certainly would have given you life experiences. And here, you are really concerned about your own mother district. And I'm really, actually, I was wondering what I do not hold any moral responsibility to comment on what you have told, because I come from Kolashekaram. That itself is evident that nothing needs to be told on that. And sir, I would also like to inform you that the theox behind Ayyappa College is gleaming now, because exactly 20 years back, with the help of I.A.S International, a project was initiated there by I.A.S International, and around 10,000 saplings were planted. That means when I was a student, when I was a degree student there, and now it's really a thick forest, which was not so when I was a student there.
Good.
So this particular area is different from the other blocks in Chunkankadai, and it is still maintained by I.A.S, and we should be really proud of that. And this is what your information, sir. And thank you so much. As usual, the facts which you tell is really an eye opener. It's very rude, but should listen to it, and I'm sure maybe next generation will really will be having a rethinking over the rubber plantation. It is causing drought, because we have developed the habit of pipe water and tankers, etc. Even our principal ma'am and myself have the first-hand experience with that. So we are also part of this. For the next generation, we will be going for a better change. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I take the pleasure to invite Mrs. W. Jagaselvi Justin, teacher, GPS Payenguri, who is also the National Level Awardee of the year 2012, to address us. Ma'am, would you article பேசலாம்?
மேடம் நீங்க பேசலாம். நம்ம ரெட் கிராஸ் சாங்கோட.
First of all, I wish you Anandal. I express my hearty thanks to all of you, especially to Honorable Sir Suresh Kumar for giving opportunity to join in this Zoom meeting. Thank you, sir. Yes. சார் எனக்கு நேஷனல் அவார்டு கிடைச்சதுக்குள்ள காரணத்தை சொல்ல சொன்னீங்க. அதாவது ஆசிரியர் பணின்னு சொல்றது ஒரு அறப்பணி. இந்த ஆசிரியர் பணி ஆற்றணும்னா அதுக்கு அருந்தவம் செய்திருக்கணும், மாதவம் புரிந்திட வேண்டும். அந்த ஆசிரியர் பணி தீமை ஏதும் இல்லாத ஒரு தூய்மையான பணி, ஊழல் இல்லாத உன்னதமான பணி, மறுமையிலும் இன்பம் தரக்கூடிய இனிய பணி. என்னுடைய சிறு வயதில், அதாவது 19வது வயதிலேயே நான் இந்த ஆசிரியர் பணியை ஏற்றுக்கொண்டேன். இந்த ஆசிரியர் பணியை ஏற்ற நாளிலிருந்தே என்னுடைய மாணவர்களுடைய நலம் ஒன்றையே, அவர்களுடைய ஒளிமயமான எதிர்காலம் ஒன்றையே என் மனதில் இருத்தி அதற்காக நான் அரும்பாடுபட்டேன். அதாவது என்னன்னா, பள்ளிக்கு சென்றால் வீட்டை நினையாதே, வீட்டுக்கு வந்தால் பள்ளியை மறவாதே. இதுதான் எனக்கு கிடைச்ச ஒரு விருது வாக்கு. பள்ளிக்கு சென்றால் வீட்டை நினையாதே, வீட்டுக்கு வந்தால் பள்ளியை மறவாதே. அப்ப நம்ம வீட்டுல கூட எப்பவுமே பிள்ளைகளை பத்தி நினைச்சுட்டே இருக்கணும். நாளைக்கு நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம், பிள்ளைகளுக்கு நாளைக்கு என்ன சொல்லிக் கொடுக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு. அதே போல பள்ளிக்கு போனா, ஸ்கூல்ல போயாச்சுன்னா நம்ம குடும்பத்தை பத்தியோ நம்முடைய பிள்ளைகளை பத்தியோ நினைக்க கூடாது, அவங்கள மறந்துடணும். பள்ளிக்கூடத்துல போனா வீட்டை மறந்துடணும், வீட்டுக்கு வந்தா பள்ளிய மறக்காம பள்ளிக்கூடத்தை நினைச்சுட்டே இருக்கணும். இதுதான் எனக்கு கிடைச்ச ஒரு விருது வாக்கு. இந்த விருது ஒரு பொன் வாக்கு. இந்த பொன் வாக்கு தான் நான் என்னுடைய விருது வாக்காக இதயத்துல இருத்தி என்ன செய்தேன்னா, நான் எப்பவுமே ஸ்கூலுடைய முன்னேற்றத்துக்காக, பள்ளி மாணவருடைய முன்னேற்றத்துக்காக நல்லா உழைக்கணும் அப்படின்னு உள்ள இதுல எனக்கு உழைச்சேன். அப்ப என்னன்னா, பள்ளியில் பெற்றோரை, ஆசிரியரே பெற்றோர், வீட்டில் பெற்றோரே ஆசிரியர். அந்த மாதிரி பள்ளிக்கூடத்துல ஆசிரியராகிய நான் பிள்ளைகளுக்கு ஒரு பெற்றோராக செயல்பட்டேன். என்னுடைய விருது கிடைக்கிறதுக்கு என்னுடைய துணைவர் மிக உறுதுணை புரிந்தார். எப்படின்னா, எப்பவுமே எதுலையுமே என்கரேஜ் பண்ணுவாங்க, எந்த ஒரு காரியம் செய்தாலும் என்கரேஜ் பண்ணுவாங்க. அது மட்டும் இல்ல, நான் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா கிளாஸ் எல்லாம் எடுப்பேன். சாயங்காலம் ஒரு 6:30 மணி வரைக்கும் எல்லாம் இருப்பேன். சனிக்கிழமை ஞாயிற்றுக்கிழமை கூட நான் ஸ்கூலுக்கு வந்திருக்கேன். இந்த பிள்ளைகளுடைய மெரிட், இந்த எக்ஸாம் எல்லாம் இது இருக்கும், அதுக்காக கோச்சிங் கொடுக்கறது, இப்படிலாம் அதுக்கெல்லாம் அவங்க எதுவுமே சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க, என்கரேஜ் பண்ணுவாங்க. என்ன செய்வாங்க சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா, நம்ம ஸ்கூல் பிள்ளைகள், அதாவது மோசமான சூழ்நிலையில இருந்து வரக்கூடிய பிள்ளைகள், ஏழை மாணவர்கள், அந்த பிள்ளைகளுடைய முன்னேற்றத்துக்காக நீங்க எவ்வளவு நாளும் கஷ்டப்படணும் அப்படிதான் என்ன என்கரேஜ் பண்ணுவாங்க. அவருடைய என்கரேஜ்மெண்ட் தான் எனக்கு உண்மையிலே விருது கிடைக்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு உறுதுணையா இருந்ததுன்னு நான் சொல்லுவேன். அப்புறம் என்னன்னா, தியாகம். ஆசிரிய பணியில இருக்க வேண்டியது தியாகம், ஒரு அர்ப்பணம். இப்ப பெலிகான் பறவை என்ன செய்யுதுன்னா, தன்னுடைய ரத்தத்தையே தன்னுடைய குஞ்சுகளுக்கு உணவா கொடுக்குது. அது போல நம்ம உப்பு என்ன செய்யுதுன்னா, தன்னையே உருக்குது, தன்னையே உருக்கி உணவுக்கு சுவை விட்டுது. அந்த மாதிரி நம்ம என்ன செய்யணும்னா, மாணவர்கள் உருவாகணும்னா நம்ம உருக்குலைக்கணும், நம்ம உருவிழந்து போகணும், அடையாளம் தெரியாம நம்ம மாறணும். அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு அர்ப்பணம், நம்முடைய தியாகம் நம்முடைய வாழ்க்கையில இருக்கணும். இப்ப நம்ம சொல்றோம், முகிலுடைய தியாகத்தினாலதான் மழை பிறக்குது, இனி அகிலுடைய தியாகத்தினால மனம் பிறக்குது. அது போல நம்ம விதையினுடைய தியாகத்தினால செடி முளைக்குது. ஆசிரியருடைய தியாகத்தினாலதான் சிறந்த மாணவர்கள் உருவாகின்றார்கள். ஆசிரியர்கிட்ட முதல்ல இருக்க வேண்டிய தலை சிறந்த குணம் என்னன்னா தியாகம். தியாக உணர்வோட ஆசிரியர்கள் அரும்பணி ஆற்றும் போது நிச்சயமா ஒரு ஒளிமயமான எதிர்காலத்தை மாணவர்களிடையே உருவாக்க முடியும். அது உண்மையான ஒரு, அது மறுக்க முடியாத ஒரு உண்மை. அந்த மாதிரி தியாகத்தோட நம்ம அர்ப்பண வாழ்வோட நம்ம பணிபுரியும் போது என்னன்னா, நம்ம நிறைய தடைகள் வரும். அப்படி தடைகள் வரும்போது அந்த தடைகளை எல்லாம் நம்ம என்ன செய்யணும், தடை கற்களை எல்லாம் படிக்கற்களா மாற்றணும். என்னெல்லாம் நிறைய பேர் டிஸ்கரேஜ் பண்ணிருக்காங்க, உனக்கு என்ன மெடலா தர போறாங்க, நீ ஏன் இப்படி ஸ்கூல்ல கிடந்து கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல்ல நீ ஏன் இப்படி பாடுபடணும் அப்படியெல்லாம் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. நான் அதையெல்லாம் பொருட்படுத்துறதே கிடையாது. நம்ம யாருக்காக செய்யறோம், கடவுளுக்காகவும் நம்மகிட்ட ஒப்படைக்கப்பட்ட பிள்ளைகளுடைய ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு எதிர்காலத்துக்காக தான் பாடுபடுறோம். அதனால எந்த தடைகளையும் நம்ம தடை கற்களை தகர்த்து நம்ம பணிபுரிய வேண்டும். இது அறப்பணிய இந்த நம்ம ஆசிரியர் பணியில நம்ம செய்ய வேண்டியது தியாகம், தடைகளை தகர்த்தல். ஒரு நம்பிக்கையோட நம்ம பிள்ளைகள் நல்லா வருவாங்க, நல்ல ஒரு எதிர்காலம் அவர்களுக்கு இருக்கும் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு நம்பிக்கையோட நம்ம அரும்பாடுபடணும். இல்ல யாரோ எதுவும் சொல்லிடுவாங்க, எதுவும் இது பண்ணிடுவாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நம்ம பின்வாங்கி போகக்கூடாது, பின்னடைய கூடாது. அந்த மாதிரி முன்னோக்கி நம்ம நடைபயணம் போடும்போது நிச்சயமாக நல்ல ஒரு எதிர்காலம் நமக்கும் கிடைக்கும், நம்ம பிள்ளைகளுக்கும் கிடைக்கும். அந்த மாதிரி என்னன்னு சொன்னா, என்னுடைய வாழ்க்கையில நான் பணியாற்றினேன்னா என்னுடைய பணியில ஒரு உண்மையான நிறைவு இருக்கு, எனக்கு ஒரு மன நிறைவு இருக்கு. நான் இப்படி ஒரு பணியாற்றி எனக்கு நல்ல ஒரு பிள்ளைகள்கிட்டே ஒரு நல்ல முன்னேற்றம். பிள்ளைகள்கிட்ட நிறைய பிள்ளைகள் என்ன செய்வாங்கன்னா, இந்த ஊரக திருநாய்த்தூர்ல நிறைய பிள்ளை செலக்ட் ஆயிருக்காங்க. அப்புறம் இந்த சயின்ஸ் இதுல எல்லாம் பிள்ளைகளுக்கு நிறைய அவார்டு எல்லாம் கிடைச்சிருக்கு. அந்த மாதிரி டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட் லெவல்ல உள்ள போட்டி, ஸ்டேட் லெவல்ல உள்ள போட்டிக்கெல்லாம் பிள்ளைகளுக்கெல்லாம் கோச்சிங் கொடுத்து நிறைய பிள்ளைகள் நல்லா வந்திருக்காங்க. அது போல பிள்ளைகளோட ஹேண்ட் ரைட்டிங்கை இம்ப்ரூவ் பண்றதுக்காக நான் நல்லா பாடுபட்டிருக்கேன். அப்ப அதுல எல்லாம் எனக்கு ஒரு மன திருப்தி தான் கிடைச்சது, ஒரு மன நிறைவு எனக்கு கிடைச்சிருக்கு. இல்லாம நான் எந்த பெருமையோ எதையுமே விரும்பி நான் செய்யல. நமக்கு அவார்டு கிடைக்கணும், விருது கிடைக்கணும், நேஷனல் அவார்டு ஸ்டேட் அவார்டு கிடைக்கணும், அப்படி எதையுமே நான் நினைச்சதில்ல. பிள்ளைகளுடைய நல்லதுதான், பிள்ளைகளுடைய முன்னேற்றம், அதைதான் நான் அதை மனசுல வச்சுதான் நான் பாடுபட்டேன். என்னுடைய நேரத்தை எவ்வளவு தியாகம் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். என்னுடைய குடும்ப வாழ்க்கையில என்னுடைய சொந்த பிள்ளைகளுடைய நல்லதை கூட நான் என்ன பண்ணிருக்கேன்னா தியாகம் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். ஊரா பிள்ளைய ஊட்டி வளர்த்தா தாம் பிள்ளை தானே வளரும்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அது மாதிரி என் பிள்ளைய சொல்லுவாங்க, நீங்க ஸ்கூல் பிள்ளைகளுக்காக எவ்வளவு கஷ்டப்படுறீங்க, எங்களுக்காக நீங்க என்ன பண்றீங்க அப்படின்னு கூட கேட்பாங்க. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நிலைமையில நான் பிள்ளைகளுக்காக பாடுபட்டேன். அது மட்டும் இல்ல, இந்த ஹெல்த் சர்வீஸ், ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஷிப், இந்த மூன்றையுமே குறிக்கோளாக கொண்ட நான் ஜேஆர்சிலையும் நான் சேர்ந்து அதுலயும் பணிபுரிந்தேன். அந்த ஜேஆர்சி அமைப்பும் என்னுடைய வாழ்க்கையில முன்னேற்றத்துக்கு மிகவும் உறுதுணையா இருந்தது. சரி, இன்னும் எனக்கு பிள்ளைகளுக்கு சர்வீஸ் பண்ணணும், ஏழை பிள்ளைகளுக்கு அந்த மாதிரிப்பட்ட ஒரு நல்ல எண்ணம் உண்டு, பின்தங்கிய மாணவர்களுக்கு. என்னுடைய உடல்நலம், என்னுடைய குடும்ப வாழ்க்கை ஒத்துழைச்சதுன்னா நான் இன்னும் தொடர்ந்து செய்வேன் என்று கூறி வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி கூறி விடைபெறுகின்றேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Ma'am, thank you so much. A lot of people who have joined us do not know English, so I will just give a short translation. Ma'am was talking about how she selflessly strives for the betterment of her students. She worked in a government school and she considered them her own children and took extra steps to provide them good education. And sure, she is going to be a good role model for teachers like us who are just in the beginning stage of our career. Thank you so much, ma'am. எங்க கூட வந்து எங்ககிட்ட பேசுனதுக்கு ரொம்ப ரொம்ப நன்றி. Really, you are inspiring. Thank you so much. Now, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. K.G. Thara, ma'am, for delivering the second technical session. To introduce Dr. Thara, she is the first member of the State Disaster Management Authority and the head of the Disaster Management Center, Institute of Land and Disaster Management, Govt of Kerala, and she served in the position for 16 years from 2000 to 2016. And it's really proud to mention that Dr. Thara is the first woman to get a PhD in geology in South India. And she is the winner of the Young Scientist Award of the Department of Science and Technology and has served as a member of the expert panel of UNDP Delhi in disaster management. Currently, she serves as the external mentor at the higher secondary and the graduation level Department of Education, Govt of Kerala, and has 13 years of teaching experience in engineering, geology in CKM College of Engineering, and 3 years of experience as scientist geology in the State Remote Sensing and Environment Center, Govt of Kerala. She has completed international training courses in disaster management conducted by ADPC, Bangkok, Center of Excellence, Hawaii, USA, World Bank Institute, Washington, certificate course in remote sensing and GS from NRSA and the like. And currently, she serves as the guest faculty of the I.A.S. Training Center, Govt of Kerala, and Amrita Institute for I.A.S. Training, National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, Govt of India, UGC Academy, Staff Training Colleges of University of Kerala, LG University, Central University, Kasaragod, and Kannur University. And she has served as the resource person of 13 government institutions, including the State Police Training Institute, Forest Training Center, Health and Family Affairs, State Administrative Training Institute, State Institute of Rural Development, Department of Agriculture, Fire and Rescue Service, State Institute of Rural Development, BF Training Colleges, etc. And ma'am, we are really fortunate to have you in this platform, and we are eagerly listening, eagerly waiting to listen to your lecture on flood mitigation. Ma'am, the platform is yours.
Thank you. Can I take over?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Savita teacher, for that very long introduction. And I should thank Ayyappa College for inviting me, and special thanks to Michael sir for suggesting my name, also for giving me this opportunity. And today being the Teachers' Day, a special pranam to all the teachers in this group, and a very, very special namaskar to Michael sir, because I consider him as my guru in disaster management. So I hope my voice is audible to you, to all, and I would like to share share a presentation, and I hope the screen sharing option is enabled. So I'll try to be okay. Just let me. It is showing the screen sharing option is disabled.
So it is share screen.
Sorry.
So you have to enable it for the participants.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Please enable it for the participants.
Okay. Is my screen now visible to you?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. 1 minute.
It is still showing disabled share, host disabled attendee screen sharing.
1 minute, madam. Dr. Savita, now you are the host. You do it, please. Dr. Savita, over to you.
Now you can share, ma'am.
Just let me try. Okay. Is it now visible?
Yes, madam.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So Michael sir has spoken quite in detail about managing drought, and I should start by saying that whatever we do to manage drought, I think it will have an impact on the management of flood also. And when we start discussing about these natural disasters, we have to slightly go back in time to 1992, where it was the first initiation to disaster management and the development in particular. What is the how in what way we can achieve development without compromising the environmental quality. This was first brought into the notice of all the nations. Almost 117 heads of state participated in this Rio Summit 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, which is a place in southeast Brazil. And we all have agreed, they all have agreed on 27 broad principles of how we can carry out the development without compromising the environmental quality. And it is popularly known as the Rio Declaration. But 20 years later, when we look back, the climate-related incidents, disasters had increased from 59 to 820 within this 20 years span. And about 2/3 of all the people killed in these disasters were due to floods and droughts. And starting from 1992 till now, there has not been any kind of no sign of reducing the global warming, because since 1900 the average temperature has risen about by 0.7 degree centigrade. It has not even reached 1 degree centigrade, but still it has become so unbearable for us to live. I mean, because the temperature has risen so much, and it is what is predicted is that by about 2100 it is going to increase by 6.4 degrees centigrade. So what went wrong in Rio Summit 1992 was that whatever principles these nations had agreed, it was non-binding. I mean, if the country had any inclination to go by what was discussed in the Rio Summit, then okay, they are, they can go ahead with it. It was not at all binding. It was left to the individual freedom of each nation. And since the Rio Summit, we have seen increasing sea level, an increase in storm, and also change in precipitation. And take the case of Gujarat 2015 flood. Instead of 122 millimeter on an average, precipitation, they had witnessed 683 millimeter rainfall, which is almost 5 times what was normally expected. And we have also witnessed since 1992 an increase in landslide and flood also. And coming to Kerala, and I'll be specifically mentioning about Tamil Nadu and in particular about Kanniykumari. But this is just, I mean, I've given a brief, scenario of what we have experienced in the last so many decades. And coming to rainfall, over Kerala, it has been decreasing by about 2.4 millimeter per year. And Tamil Nadu, it is decreasing at a slower pace, 1.4 millimeter only per year. That is how much rainfall is decreasing there. And drinking water crisis, as Michael sir has put it, we almost all the states in India, we are having a increased incidence of water shortages and also the flood incidents. And drinking water crisis in Kerala is also escalating. Planning board, one of their studies, they show that in Idukki, Idukki district is a district in northern Kerala, and almost 50 families have to depend on this one single well. That's a case in 2018, and remember that 2018 is the year where Kerala has witnessed a historic flood. So what we have to accept is that climate change is a reality, and climate change has become the most important global environmental challenge that is facing us today. When we discuss about flood and drought, they cannot be taken only as an outcome of climate change. It's a question of how we manage our water resources. Because whatever we do to control drought will effectively put a control on flood also. I'll come to that, I mean, as we discuss further in this presentation. What are the reasons for this crisis? I mean, increasing incidence of flood. I think rather than squarely putting all the blame on the climate change impacts, we also have to look at how the urbanization, the pace of urbanization has also resulted in this in these kinds of disasters. Because when we look at the global trend in urbanization, it is 5% at the global level, and in India, urbanization is happening at a 15% level, and 9% level. And when you come to Kerala, urbanization is so fast that it is 3 times the global average level. And what is the impact that we are seeing when we have, I mean, when the urban area increases, we are encroaching more and more into forest land. We have to cut down trees, and any tree, any vegetation, we know that they help in holding water underneath the ground, and this constitutes the groundwater flow. And this groundwater flow actually, they constitute the groundwater table. And during summer season, it is this water that is being fed into the river. These are the things which we know in general. And any vegetation, any tree, any single tree, even if it is a grass, it can hold water 96 times its mass. So what is more important here to learn is that if you have vegetation over a hilltop, then it can hold water, and that will lead to reduced amount of water reaching the roads. What has happened in the past is that we have removed all this vegetation cover, and this has increased the incidence of flood, especially in the urban areas. And it will be good to have a look at what the Chinese people are doing. I can be booked under the sedition law for talking about the Chinese, but I think we have to learn a few things from them, because they are constructing. They are the nation with the largest population, and the global warming is a major crisis being felt by all the people there. So they are into building, converting all the cities into forest areas. So they have forest every single space that they have in urban area, because they want to control the heat impact, and they also want to control flooding in the urban area. And when the natural ecosystem is converted into a built up land, all the vegetation is removed, and all the water holding capacity of the soil is lost, and all the water, instead of going down the soil, it will reach your home or the roads or whatever infrastructure you have. It will all get damaged. And coming back to Kerala, we have been experiencing a major shift in the precipitation in 2018, especially June. In the month of June, it was only 15% excess of rainfall. July, it was 18% of excess rainfall. In August, it was 164 excess rainfall that we had experienced. And what was the result? What was the consequence? Is that the entire water, which is not being able to be retained by the soil, because there was no vegetation cover, no soil cover, all this excess water reached the urban area. And that is the reason why we had a historic floods in 2018. It was considered, it is still considered as the as a major disaster. I mean, even by world records, it is considered as it hits the top top of the world disaster list by way of its magnitude and by way of the destruction it has caused. And 13 out of 14 districts were underwater. So we have a very severe flood situation, especially because of human intervention into the nature. And all the natural ecosystem are being removed, not only in Kerala, but in all the southern states also. Take the case of Velacheri in Tamil Nadu. The entire ecosystem was disrupted or destroyed for construction of an IT park. And in wetland in Pallikaranai, Tamil Nadu, they had been removed for building a shopping complex that its name is Phoenix, I think. It is the largest shopping complex in South India. And we all have to remember, as Michael sir has told us in his speech, that 1 hectare of paddy field can hold 20,000 liters of water. So whether the paddy cultivation is very economical or not, we have to have these spaces in the nature, because this much amount of water will not reach the roads if you have a paddy field there. And almost 70% of all the vegetation has been lost now, and that is the reason why the Chennai flood happened. It is not only because of the consequence of the climate change, but also because of the increased pace of urbanization. So I would say that what we have to press for is to have a land use policy wherever we have a problem of drought, wherever we have a problem of flood. We have to press the government to come up with a land use policy. Very few state governments have a land use policy. I think I'm not aware of any state which has come out with a comprehensive land use policy. We don't have it in Kerala, and I'm sure that Chennai also is not having. So it boils down to the question is whether your state or district have a land use policy, and if not, let us press for that. And whatever natural vegetation it had, I mean, every terrain had, we had destroyed them. Take the case of Kanniykumari, for example. It was so rich in palm trees, palmyra. And India is considered to be, having the highest number of palm trees. And all the taluks in Kanniykumari district, they had rich, resources of these palm tree, but it is slowly vanishing, and it had almost vanished in most of the places. And if you consider the total number of palm trees in India, almost 60% of what we have in India is in Tamil Nadu. And 1 acre of land can actually hold 400 to 500, palm trees. And this is considered as a kalpavriksha, because what is so special about this tree is that the roots of this palm tree, they grow vertically downwards. Other trees, it grows horizontal, it has this horizontal spreading, but this palm tree, it goes vertically down. So it is an excellent rainwater harvesting system. So this is a good remedy. I mean, bringing back these palm trees is an excellent remedy for both drought management, because it will hold water and it will replenish the water table. It is also an excellent remedy for flood situation, because it is holding so much water, so much less water will reach the roads. And in 1985 to 1986, if you take the employment that it had created, this the employment these palm trees had, palm industry had created, it had provided a job to around 5,87,000 people. I mean, this is government record. So it can very well, aptly be called as the Kalpavriksha. And we also have to consider rainwater harvesting as a technique for managing the drought, as well as for managing the excess water. Because whatever water which falls on the roof, instead of that water reaching the roads or the canals or the drainage, we can conserve them and utilize it for our future purposes. And we can actually learn from what the Bangalore city has done, because they had introduced a penalty, 25% of penalty they had introduced in their water bills for those houses which do not have a rainwater harvesting system. So it is a kind of penalty introduced to encourage people to go for these kinds of rainwater harvesting structure. And drain pits also is an excellent way to control flood and also to replenish the water table. I mean, it can handle both the drought as well as the flood, because whatever excess water you are having, it can be directly directed towards the underground, and it will serve as a bank deposit of groundwater body. And this is an example of this picture is from Tamil Nadu. I mean, during, I think, Srimati Jayalalitha's time, there was a major drive for constructing these kinds of rain pits, and the water table level increased wherever they had gone ahead with this construction of rain pits. And here in Kerala also we have plenty of rain pits, not on the ground but on the roads, and we do collect rainwater in those in these pits also. This is something which, the soil erosion is also something which we have to very seriously consider, because if you take the statistics in India, soil erosion is one of the highest rates in India, because it is estimated that around 16 tons of soil is getting eroded per hectare. It is, I think the permissible limit is only 5 tons per, or three times 3 tons per hectare. So it is almost 5 times what is actually permissible. And in Kanniykumari, you have a mostly a red loam type of soil variety, which cannot contain, which cannot retain water. It is porous in nature. It can hold, contain water, but it cannot retain water. So what we have to do to control both flood and also drought, we have to address, we have to concentrate on the catchment area. A catchment area is where the area from where the rivers originate. So having more vegetation at the catchment area and going for soil conservation techniques in the catchment area is going to yield better results as far as these drought or flood management is concerned. And we also have to think about the need for floodplain regulation. Because we have, I think our central government came out with a floodplain regulation act way back in 1978. Please tell me when it is time to stop, because I think can I take 10 more minutes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can continue.
Okay. So on Floodplain Regulation Act in 1978, it says that both these sides, I mean the arrow, whatever this arrow, this arrow, this blue colored arrow is showing, is pointing at a floodplain. On either side of the river, you have a plain land which is built by depositing of the gravel and sand, which is brought by the river from the hill. As it originates from the hill and as it reaches it takes away a lot of sand and other alluvial material, and when it reaches the plain land, it is no longer in having an ability to move with the load of material, so it just gets deposited on either side of the land. And these floodplains are very, very important for the river to control flood, because they act as flood controlling measures, because these are all very porous and permeable material. So anytime there is excess of water, these floodplains help in containing or in reducing the flood impact. And what most of the states have done is that they have encroached into this floodplain and have got multi layered structures and flats, multiple flats there. One famous example in Kerala is the Maradu flats in Cochin, where each of these huge buildings, 300 to 400 flats in each buildings. They started this construction in 2006. And violating all the CRZ 3 regulations, and the case went on and on and on, and finally in 2016 Supreme Court decided that they have to be demolished, and it still took 4 more years for these buildings to be demolished. And when we talk about flood control and when we talk about water management, we have to see the importance of the hills and the mounds, because hills slow down the water flow, and as the water flow slows down, there is more probability of the water to be retained by the soil. We have to think whether we have to press the government to have a policy to save the remaining hillocks and the mountains and the mounds, because that is an excellent way, excellent methodology to ensure that water management is effectively being done. And in Kanniykumari area, as Michael sir has pointed out, in most of these natural forest area has been replanted with rubber cultivation, and rubber cultivation, it doesn't hold on to any water. The soil is also not able to contain water. The roots are not able to contain water, hold water. So we have to go back to our original cultivation methodologies, I think. And Kerala, these hills are fast disappearing at a fast rate. And remember that each rock, it takes at least 50 lakh years to form. I'm a geologist by profession, so I can very confidently say that these are so precious that precious a resource that it takes so many years for them to form, and it takes almost 4,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 years for a rock to get converted into a sand. So these are all very precious resources. And so the conservation of these rocks and the hills is very, very essential for flood and drought management. And the next question that anybody would be asking is, what about cement and concrete, and don't we need these materials, these resources for our construction? No, the answer is a big no, because there are other alternatives which are available in the market, which can be used as a substitute for rocks and sand. For example, I'm not going into a detailed discussion, but copper slag, which is a substitute of this smelting coal industry, we are producing about 6 to 6.5 million tons per annum. This can be a substitute for sand. And CRRI, Central Road Research Institute, is actually giving a lot of options of these alternate building technologies. And whatever copper slag we are producing, India is producing, we are exporting it to Singapore for the construction of their roads. And Singapore roads are so well known for their quality. And we export this to Singapore, and they have good roads. And what we have here in India is all very visible for us to see. And the construction and demolition waste also can be reused as building material. So we need not trouble these virgin mountains or quarries for our construction purposes. Taking the case of Delhi alone, they are producing 15 lakh tons per annum of these construction and demolition waste. It can be reused. And we have to come up with a policy that one person can have only one person, in the sense one family can have only one house, and the aerial extent also need to be limited. And the draft environmental impact assessment notification in 2020, which the central government has now mooted, it says that no environmental clearance is needed for a project up to 150,000 square meter. And the existing limit is only 20,000 square meter. And now the central government has increased it to 7 times what is originally envisaged. And what is the impact? So much of space, a building occupying so much of space, it means that you are going to aggravate the flood situation, you are going to aggravate the drought situation. I have a picture of a fine gentleman here. When I talk about one house only and a limited aerial extent, I can't help but showing this gentleman's picture. He has a small house, very small house in Mumbai. The total cost is only 5,600 crore rupees. It has only 24 stories. And only 3 helicopters can land on the rooftop. He is none other than Mukesh Ambani. Again, I can be booked for sedition because I'm talking against Mukesh Ambani, and all Adanis and Ambanis are to be left out, I think. And this is one room in his house, in this palatial building, which is permitted to be photographed. And imagine so much of construction, so many mountains might have been upheaved for construction of this one single house. And in Mumbai alone there are 125 lakhs who do not have a roof over their head. So we have to, and 33% of Indians, it says that they have less space than the US prisoners. And what is needed for one person is only 200 square feet per person. So we have to come up with a policy. If we want to manage drought and manage flood, we have to come up with a policy that we should have only one house per family, and the aerial extent should be limited to this statistics. 200 square feet per person only is needed for us. Kerala has the highest number of eco-sensitive zones in India, but we have many illegal constructions, especially in Munnar. This is a picture from Munnar, where over the last 7 years, over 300 illegal constructions have come up. And what is the result? Massive landslide and heavy, massive flood also. And the latest of which is what we had in Pettimudi. It is a place in Idiki district where 61 people were buried. More than 61, but only 61 bodies could be recovered. They were buried alive underneath the debris. And we have the same situation is the same elsewhere in India. Bihar, we have very recently experienced, they had experienced a flood, devastating flood, where about 7.4 million people were affected and almost 16 districts were flooded. And it's all a question of how the Brahmaputra river water is being managed. They have a lot of dams built across the river. But sorry, I'm sorry about the spelling. 22 lakh people were affected. And there are also reports that the unregulated release of water from dams had resulted in the flood. So whatever we call as development, I mean, having more dams and more construction and more palatial buildings, is it what we mean by the term development? That question, I think it is time that we start asking. And they have built a lot of embankments, the length of which had increased 20 times than what was originally needed. And did it contain any flood in Bihar? No, it had resulted in 3 times increase in flood. So we should also keep, it in our background memory that all these developmental activities and encroaching into the nature and meddling with the nature is not going to help us in managing the water. And what the IPCC, I think we should be, when we are talking about development, we always think about the number of airports that we have, number of railway lines that we have, number of highways that we have. But what the IPCC is saying is that rice and wheat production of India will drop in the coming next 30-40 years, and just a slight increase in 1.5 degrees centigrade rise in temperature and 2 millimeter increase in the rainfall will result in a decline in the rice production by about 15%. And we will have to import food if it happens, and it has already resulted in food insecurity and malnutrition. And India may need 320 metric tons of food grains by the year 2025. It's just 5 years ahead. So what we have to look at is that we have to clearly define what we mean by the term development. Is it the national highways or the airports or these stadiums or underground these passages that we should be calling as development, or is it a poverty reduction that we should be talking about? Because the hunger index in India, we are placed at the 100th position, and there are only 119 countries taken into account when they prepared this report. So it is not a very covetable position to occupy the 100th position in the hunger index, and talking about you start talking about development and self-reliance. And remember, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. Remember that we are not, superhumans, and human beings are not, supreme beings. A small virus, which is 20,000 times smaller than a grain of salt, has put us onto a halt. It has resulted in more than 7 lakhs, almost 8 lakh deaths across the countries, and not much has been changed over the years. Whatever we had earlier, we still continue those things, but the way we treat the nature has definitely undergone a change for the worse. And there are about 100 billion galaxies. Reportedly, there are about 100 billion galaxies in the universe, and we are just one tiny galaxy. I mean, part of the galaxy here, which is called as the Milky Way. And let us all remember that, just like we are having a plan A, and if it fails, we have plan B. That is not the case with the Earth that we live in. There's no Earth B. This is the single and sole planet that we have to inhabit. So, to sum up, any discussion on water management, drought management, or flood management, it has to consider land use policy. We have to press the government for coming up with a land use policy, to come up with a floodplain regulation, rainwater harvesting, and protection of hills. Some kind of rules, regulation has to be brought out. And housing sector, limit the number of houses that each one can have, and also the aerial extent. And soil conservation should be made mandatory, and catchment area rejuvenation is a must. And self-regulation, I mean, I should be aware of what all environmental impact I am creating, or I'm being responsible for. And I should control myself from buying a reclaimed land. I should control myself from having a second house. So self-regulation and learning from past experiences is also very important. And we all can act as a pressure group to make this happen. And sustainable existence of all the living beings is something which we should be aiming at, because we all are the same. There is absolutely no difference between a human being and the way they laugh. Look at this picture. I mean, they both look very happy and almost the same expression. So let us have a sustainable existence. Thank you once again, Michael sir, and also Ayyappa College, for giving me this opportunity to talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Another session and also the two speaker. And of course, it was very informative in the sense that we got to know about the alternatives of the alternatives for the construction, and your suggestions too were really wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am. And Professor Vinod Menon, sir, a happy welcome to our program.
Thank you.
And welcome, sir. Namaste, and happy Teachers' Day to you. And I guess we can move on to the question answer session now. Actually, the questions, we cannot say that as call it as questions, but they are really concerns on the condition of our Jyoti Patil ma'am has asked. We know that forests are destroyed. How to convince the new generation about generation to solve it, and also how to handle the problems, how to handle all these problems without disturbing the nature. And global warming, there is a question on global warming too. So all this, how to tackle the situation, and I think in a way the answer is there in the presentation itself, but still the question is also both the research persons. Would you like to comment on this? How to protect? How to educate the younger generation?
மற்றவங்களுக்குலாம் பண்ணல இல்லையா ஏன் அப்படி
You know that forest are bad, but how to convince the new generation to solve this? Michael, sir?
Yes, yeah. I think audibility, there is some problem. So I think what I understand, how to convince the future generation. Am I right? Yeah, I would say, like for example, the Thara's presentation is exactly picturizing the reality. A person who is seeing the reality will be able to sensitize. So I would say, I think that the youth like you or the students, the youth has got a great commitment and they are really committed provided they are properly appraised. If they are exposed, certainly I think they will be more aware and they will individually act as a pressure group like what Thara said. So I think we have to create awareness among our youth, and so that what damage we have been doing, what is still nature is very bountiful. Within 4 years, you can create a forest, and how much importance was the black palm tree to the Kanniykumari district. But today, I think we have neglected it. We have cut and sold it and all. So this sort of damage, at least further, we shouldn't do. But there are people who have initiated black palmyra landing, etc. It's all disaster management. By and large, is a collective, cohesive action, not any small department or a university. It is a collective. So, for example, if you want to improve and retain black palm, you have to do the research and you have to bring whether the black palm trees can do tissue culture. It can be brought into a shorter variety so that people will grow. So that sort of, it should be collective. The country should make a commitment for this sort of things, not in isolated pockets, here intervention, there interventions, like the land use policy. What corrections we cannot, because you cannot play with nature. Nature will just take revenge on us, and it has been taking it mercilessly. But only thing is, if I have caused the problem, but the sufferer is somebody else, that's what is the problem now. I think if we create awareness at an appropriate place, right in the children, I think we have got a great future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And now I'll request Professor N. Vinodchandran Menon to give the concluding remarks to talk about Vinodchandran, sir, another pillar of support who is behind the success of our webinar series, and another inspiring teacher who has got 34 years of working experience in training senior administrators. I think we are really fortunate to have both Michael Vetha Siromony, sir, and Vinod Menon, sir. As I mentioned earlier, both of you were training the stakeholders of the development of our nation. And also, Professor Menon has worked in Chavan Academy of Developmental Administration, Pune, and he has served as the professor and head of the Center for Disaster Management from 1996 to 2002. So, happy Teachers Day to you, sir, again, and I request you to give your concluding remarks. Sir, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Savita, and I'm sorry that I have not been able to join in the initial part of the session. I only came in when Dr. Thara was actually in the middle of her presentation. But it's a very extremely useful presentation. Dr. Thara, I know for the last, more than a decade, when she was actually in the Kerala State Disaster Management Authority, and also in the training institute, training government officers. We have worked very closely in looking at community resilience building in Kerala. And I'm sorry that I could not join and listen to the presentation by Mr. Michael Vetha Siromony, because I had another commitment which I was actually, also anchoring. So I had to basically be there from 4 o'clock onwards. And so I had told them that I will actually be concluding and coming out of that session at 5:30. And so I tried to join by 5:30, and I could listen to half of the presentation at least from Dr. Thara. These topics is very important, extremely important, mainly because we are living through the crisis of COVID, And every day we are seeing this, and the numbers which Dr. Thara mentioned have changed. From the loss of life, which you mentioned, about 700,000 plus. Actually, I think the numbers have changed substantially in the past 2 days. And if you look at the current numbers, I think the numbers have actually become much more than what it was. And India has actually crossed 40 lakhs, 4 million. And by mid-September, that's in another 10 days, we will be crossing 50 lakhs, and that is 500 crore. And the rate at which we are growing, it is 2.4%. And this is mainly because of the fact that, we are not disciplined. We have unlocked without actually understanding that unlocking without discipline is actually creating much bigger harm. We are actually spreading it ourselves by exposing other people through contact. When you are actually seeing people traveling outside, and when you see people in a crowd, if you can see that out of every 100 people whom you're seeing, less than 10% of the people are wearing masks. The 90% of the people are just walking around without wearing masks, and they are not using their frequent hand washing. They're touching surfaces. They're actually, meeting people. They're not observing physical distances. They're traveling in crowded buses, in marketplaces. So I think we are ourselves contributing to this, worsening of the situation. This is, as Mr. Michael Siromony very rightly mentioned, this is a disaster management is a collective responsibility. It's not a government's responsibility alone. It's not the doctor's responsibility alone. We cannot say that, we cannot blame everybody and say that, we have to save ourselves. Right now, actually, we were just discussing about the crisis situation which is happening in Pune. If Pune was a country, this would have been the 5th highest caseload country in the world. If you really look at the numbers in terms of the numbers of people who are actually there, active cases, and also number of people who are actually infected. So if you look at the country, the growth which is happening, Pune is not only the hotspot in India, it's also the hotspot in the world. The fastest growing hotspot. We have 2 800-bed hospitals which have been created here by investing about 800 crores. And, but at the same time, we are having people dying in these hospitals because of, a lack of proper facilities. Almost 80% of the people are actually, in, critical conditions. And they need oxygen, they need support and things like that. So we are ourselves contributing to this, and it's also spreading into the rural areas. If you see the number of people who are getting exposed, I think this is a very serious matter. And the topic of COVID is actually something which should make us all realize that we are ourselves being so irresponsible, even to the extent of compromising on other people's health. If you're not wearing a mask, you are not only protecting yourself, not protecting yourself, you're also not protecting the others. You're not showing respect to the others. There are elderly people, there are people with comorbidities, there are people who need to be protected, and so this is actually what is happening. And Dr. Thara was mentioning about a few things which I'm sure would be very thought-provoking. And these are some of the things which lead us to understand that we cannot leave the slum workers and informal sector without understanding their problems. We saw this when the lockdown happened on the 24th of March. It was announced that within a few hours, we would be locking down this whole country. And this lockdown has continued, version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4, version 5. And then we had unlock 1, unlock 2, unlock 3, and unlock 4. And you can understand, for the last several months, several weeks, the migrant workers have been staying without jobs. The informal vegetable vendors and others do not have the money to buy vegetables, buy fruits and so on, and to earn their own livelihood. So this is a serious matter. And in disaster management, we say leave no one behind and do no harm. But we are ourselves ignoring these principles. We are not respecting do no harm. We are not respecting leave no one behind. We are actually, encouraging or even silently watching, exclusion, which is happening. Exclusion of migrant workers, exclusion of fishermen, fishing communities, exclusion of Dalits, of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, OBCs, minorities, vulnerable sections, of patients, of palliative care patients, people with organ transplants or kidney transplant or kidney dialysis, people with chemotherapy and radiation who cannot go to the hospital because they are scared. They're worried whether it would be safe to go to a hospital for elective procedures, like chemotherapy or radiation or even surgeries. There are many people who are really worried about going to a hospital. And I think, we ourselves need to question ourselves and say, can we encourage better behavioral change, better discipline, better civic responsibility and consciousness? As Mr. Michael Vetha mentioned, in Japan, people would actually be talking about educating the children, the younger generation, about drop, cover, and hold, about protecting themselves. They would actually be helping many of these people by encouraging them in terms of, in many ways, they will be telling them that they should actually be, aware of this disaster risk and vulnerability and exposure. They teach the children to protect themselves from earthquakes. But in reality, what really happens is that we would actually need to know that from cradle to the grave, from the childhood, from the infancy to old age, we would need to have disaster management as a part of our culture. And that is the only way we will be able to protect ourselves and also, teach humanity, teach next generation. And I'm sure that the work which Ayyappa College is doing, what the Youth Red Cross is doing there, what DMRT is doing in Tamil Nadu, through these sessions will be extremely useful. I'm very grateful to Mr. Suresh Kumar and Mr. Michael Vetha, Dr. Savita, and the principal and the others, from who have been actually conducting these programs. So I'm grateful to all of you. I'm sorry for not being there for the full session. Thank you very much and wish you all the very best. But please stay safe and please encourage mask wearing, frequent hand washing, and also physical distancing. Stay safe for yourself and for your children and for your relatives, for your families, please. And please encourage others. Use social media. Don't forward the fake messages. Don't consider that India is doing very well because it's not our death per million and other kind of things are not really giving us. Let us believe.
So please unmute yourself, sir. So please unmute yourself. So please unmute yourself, sir.
I'm sorry that I actually got muted in between by mistake. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Ayyappa College for Women, the Youth Red Cross Disaster Management Rehabilitation Trust, and Mr. Michael Vetha, Mr. Suresh Kumar, Ms. Savita, and all the others for organizing this program, conducting this series of training programs. I am also grateful to all of you who stayed back, and even though the number is very small, this is also going to be recorded, and this is currently being recorded, and this is also going to be shared through Facebook and through social media platforms. I hope that more people will become aware of it, and the students will also share it. Faculty members will share it with the others. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vinod Menon, for being with us, for being really a pillar of support for us to continue with our webinar series. And now I would like Mr. Suresh Kumar, sir, the organizing secretary of our webinar series and also the secretary of DMRT to deliver the vote of thanks. So please.
Thank you. So, most respected our chairman, chief patron, and all the people who are associated with this program continuously for the 5th occasion. So it is the very important topic is taken that extreme weather events, drought and flood. Of course, we have water. We need water. We know that water is necessary both for sustainable human development and for the healthy functioning of the planet's ecosystem. When water is more, there will be a problem. When water is less, that also will be a problem. Working in between to the disaster managers, it is a big challenge. That's what practiced by our respected NDMA founder member Vinod Menon sir as well as Michael sir. They have been doing it. So on behalf of Sree Ayyappa College for Women and DMRT, sir, it is our proud privilege to be associated with you, and you were here, both of you were here in all our program, encouraging us, supporting us, helping us. Even yesterday, 1 o'clock, our Professor Vinod Menon sir was even giving a lot of guidance to plan this program. So thank you very much, both the chief patrons, for making this day happen. Especially Michael sir's presentation really touched many important valid points. Drought is a major problem. That problem should be addressed. If the flood is managed properly, if the rainwater is managed properly, then managing drought is very easy. That's what our sir was telling. And on behalf of Sree Ayyappa College for Women and DMRT, sir, I thank Michael sir for a nice presentation. We missed your video. Next session, we will really broadcast it. Today's excellent presentation by Dr. Thara Madam. When I met our Michael sir in 2014, the day one onwards, sir was telling about inviting Dr. Thara Madam for a program. Today, I felt the golden words by sir. I heard about Thara Madam, her professor also from Raman Sharma sir, senior geology professor from here in Kanniykumari district. He was telling Guru. But Madam's presentation explained entire situation across the world and the country. Madam touched very important issues relevant to Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Madam has touched how much life lost during every disaster. 92 flood is the eye-opener for bringing out many new ideas and policy changes. It is a paradigm shift started in 1992. 92 flood we experienced in Kanniykumari district that devastated many area. And 2010 flood we have minimized because of the better preparedness. But 2015, 17, 18 flood, the death rate is almost nil because of the best district disaster management policy enabled in the district. And the Chennai flood in 2015, that Indian Red Cross and other many humanitarian organizations involved and reduced loss of life. I had an opportunity of working in Kerala flood 2018. I was deployed by NISQ, Indian Red Cross Society, to Kerala during the first phase of flood. I experienced, as Madam rightly said, almost 12 districts of entire Kerala devastated. But what happened after 6 months? The entire water table came down and there was almost a drought situation. Water table came down. So working between flood and drought is very important. Annually, $307 million economic loss is occurred due to floods. 1,560 lives lost and 91,242 cattle loss and 32.92 million people affected due to floods. So all these valid points and solutions were provided by Dr. Thara Madam how the policy makers and the disaster managers work together to support the disaster management system so that we can alleviate the suffering. And on behalf of Sree Ayyappa College for Women and DMRT, Madam, we thank. And today we specially celebrated Teachers Day, and we are fortunate to have Madam W. Jagaselvi Justin Teacher National Awardee in 2012. Madam has presented her experience, long-lasting experience, and Mr. Dr. Nagesh, Assistant Master from DVD Higher Secondary School, District Liaison Officer, NSS. He also presented his experience and how you should, what you call, take the profession of teaching and how you can be supportive to the nation. And Mr. Sayed Abu Dahir, who also joined in YouTube platform from Dindigul district. Currently, this year, 2020, Tamil Nadu government is honoring him with the Best Teacher Award. So thank you very much. We take this opportunity to thank all the best teachers and all the teachers. Here we have guided by all our teachers, that teachers who guide us. This platform is set by the teachers. Initially, we started as a single session, but the session is going on. I hope the session will go on and move on. And I expect to hear from Dr. Sabida as a closing words, how we are going to set the next program. So I take this opportunity to thank each and every experts and delegates who participated in Zoom Meet, YouTube, and Facebook live stream. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Savita, announcement, please.
Mute everyone. Okay. So, as Suresh sir was telling, we initiated this as a webinar series of comprising of 5 sessions, and according to which today's should be the validity session of the closing session of our webinar series. But yesterday when we were having a discussion, Suresh Kumar sir and myself, we felt that this should not be a concluding day, and the effort we initiated should go on. And because the topics which we have been discussing here for all these 5 days have been the need of the hour, and we realized that the initiatives or the efforts in the field of disaster management in the topmost level or in the government level will be successful only if it reaches the ground level. And therefore, recognizing and realizing our role in making India disaster resilient by 2030, we will be organizing more events in the future, and therefore I assure you that the 5th session of our webinar series is not going to be the validity session, but just another beginning. And we are sure that with the guidance and blessings of our seniors, Michael J. Siromony sir and Professor Vinod Menon sir, we will be organizing more events. The team, Youth Red Cross and I.A.S of Ayyappa College for Women and DMRT will be organizing more events in the future, because as teachers, as teacher educators, it is our role to, as Vinod Menon sir was telling, right from the cradle, the education should begin. And as teachers, we have accessibility to the citizens of the next generation. So for that, first we have to get educated. We have to be educated on disaster management and disaster resilience, and we have to take this to our classrooms. And let us take this pledge on the Teachers' Day that we will be a part of the disaster management and disaster resilience of our nation, and we will make our country disaster resilient. And I request your cooperation, those who have been joining us through the Zoom and also through the YouTube, to stay because to stay connected, because in all our future events, Dr. K.V. Jayshree ma'am is here, Meena ma'am is here. My thanks to all of you for giving for explaining all the support. Even if we are making last minute changes and last minute plans, our principal ma'am never scolds me. She's my teacher and my mentor too. She never scolds. She just comes and she always sets the tempo of the program. Thank you everyone for being with us, and as I promised you, this is not going to be the end but just a beginning of a long journey. Thank you so much. Stay connected with us. Stay safe. Stay home. Stay safe and happy learning. Thank you so much. Sree sir.
Chairman sir, want to say something regarding your react to your chairman sir. Sir, kindly unmute the mic, sir.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think it was a very useful, purposeful 5-day session. Thanks for especially Mr. Vinod Manan's presence. I think his commitment is very exhibited by his presence throughout. And something like a child always, it's got disaster, everybody what he learns, and great commitment from the Ayyappa College, and particularly the way you took the